We will call the meeting, the Planning and Land Use Committee meeting to order at 6:35. And Jenny, could you take the roll call?
Yes. Rosalie Preston,
Present.
Majane Nixon, here. Craig Kusunoki,
Here.
RV Powell,
Here.
Janisha Robinson,
Here.
Rebecca Rodriguez. I don't see Rebecca on. Angela Springs. I also don't see Angela. And Luetta Watson.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, let me just, Angela's asking for the link, so I've got to send that to her so she can join. Meanwhile, we'll go on to general public comment. If there's any comment on items that are not on our agenda, please raise your hand. And Madge, are you a co-host?
Yes, it looks like that.
Okay, so you could check
Uh-huh.
while I send it to.
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, then we'll move on to item 3, which is approval of the minutes from the June 3rd meeting. Is there a motion to approve or any correction?
I motion to approve the minutes for June 3rd meeting, 2025.
Lou Watson seconds.
Thank you, Lou. I can take the roll here. Rosalie Preston,
Yes.
Majane Nixon, yes. Craig Kusunoki,
Yes.
RV Powell,
Yes.
Janisha Robinson,
Yes.
okay. Rebecca and Angela Spring here. Luetta Watson,
Yes.
that passes.
Okay, as soon as I send this link to Angela, we'll move on to item 4, which is further discussion of the proposed 6-story, 111-unit apartment building with 85 parking spaces and 18 affordable units, 11516 South Vermont Avenue, CPC 2025 2171 CU3 DB VHCA, also environmental ENV 2025 2172 EAF in District 6 with possible recommendation to the HGNC board. So I've drafted a letter just to help us with our conversation. The applicant was invited, and at first he said that he would be at the meeting, and then he asked what would happen if he wasn't, or was it important for him to be present? And I said it was, but I don't see him. So we'll just go ahead without him. So Madge, if you could share the draft letter. And our planning deputy from Council District 8, Terry Osborne, is present, so if she can point out anything that we perhaps should consider. And then I see 2 of the impacted stakeholders are present, So, well, after we run through it, then Tanya and Michael, if you want to add your thoughts. It looks like from what Terry Osborne has said that I believe the applicant has still not submitted all the necessary documents, so we have time to finalize this letter at our next August meeting. And then it can go to the full board at the August board meeting, so we don't have to rush and, maybe there'll be something by August that we want to add as well.
Can you see my screen okay?
Yes,
Okay, and I think this is, you only sent me one draft, right? So this is the one that I have. Okay.
so let's see. Madge, could you read it out? I'm still trying to let Angela know the meeting went.
Okay. Dear President, is it Lashi? Is that how you pronounce it? On August 12th, 2025, the Harbor Gateway Neighborhood Council Board voted, which will fill in to submit this. Okay, I'm just gonna go down, let's see. This is the proposed 6-story, 111 unit apartment building at 11516 South Vermont Avenue, as well as our recommendations to make it a better project with less impact on the single family homes. This is the R1 zone to the north and east, which would be overlooked by this tall building. So then I scroll down. Our major concerns are as follows. The lack of adequate parking for so many units, 65 resident parking spaces and 20 guest parking spaces, which will inevitably result in parking of even more vehicles on nearby residential streets where there are already tensions over street parking. Next concern, the location maybe is so close. The location is so close to the 105 Century Freeway westbound off-ramp onto Vermont Avenue. We are the neighborhood council, which due to a different proposed project close to a 91 Artesia Freeway bus off-ramp and the 91 Artesia Freeway and 110 Harbor Freeway caused the 1,000-foot freeway adjacent advisory notice ZI 2427. This is September 17th, 2018 for residential buildings. Though we note how weak that notice is and how it badly needs to be strengthened. Next concern, the lack of outdoor space for residents, especially for any children and pets. The minimal amount of proposed trees and other landscaping to help offset the location next to the freeway ramp. Okay, our recommendations for improvements are no waiver of the encroachment plane, which would be required at 20 feet in height from existing or finished grade next to the R1 zone. No waivers for the following standard setbacks. So A, rear yard reduction from 15 feet to 5 feet. B, side yard reduction from 9 feet to 5 feet. C, side yard setback from 9 feet to 5 feet. D, alley side yard setback from 9 feet to 1 foot. No reduction, in the required open space from 12,050 square feet to 4,529 square feet. Currently, the only open space proposed is the rooftop deck. No reduction in the bicycle parking from 80 parking spaces or guest bicycle parking from 8 parking spaces, utilizing bike racks on the walls of the parking garage and or bike lockers. Windows from apartments on the north side of the building and east side placed high up on the walls and narrow rectangulars in the shape to help create privacy for those living below in the R1 zone.
That it should say rectangular.
Okay. Next, improved exterior design with more articulation and different types of exterior finishes, such as stone, metal, and metal mesh, wood, as well as stucco. Different exterior paint colors, such as golden beige with a lighter brown or shades of green. White paint surfaces end up looking dirty, while the deep gray color will make the building appear more prominently in the landscape than necessary for the R1 residents. Substantial vegetation, trees and shrubs along the freeway off-ramp side of the building, as well as a sound wall covered with vines. At least 28 trees should be required on the property. Reorientation of the building so that the building is placed very close to Vermont Avenue with the vehicle entrance right into the parking garage, which would include the 20 guest parking spaces, so that the open space is situated on the east side of the building, ensuring privacy for more of the R1 residents. Closure of access to the 700 block of West 115th Street from east of the alley using bollards or concrete barriers. Respectfully, Joan Jacobs. With the council people CC'd. That's it. Let me zoom out a little bit. Are there any comments? And I can't see on the Zoom. Did Angela make it in yet?
Yes, she did arrive about 6:40.
Okay, thank you. Lou, you have your hand up?
Yes, yes, I do. Would you scroll up to the very beginning of this letter? Okay,
How's that?
okay, that's good.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna say straight up, I will vote to not approve this project, mainly because the developer shows a lack of disrespect for us and for this community, not even to show up. And for just for the total project itself and how it looks and what he's doing, it shows a lack of disdain. It shows a disdain and a lack of respect for the entirety of Harbor Gateway North. So therefore, I will not vote to approve this. And in some manner, I would suggest that the letter start off by saying something to that effect. And maybe it should begin with, if approved, then set forth the things that we are concerned with. But just straight up, he doesn't even want to bother with us. So therefore, he's disrespecting us, and I don't like it. And I'm not going to vote to approve it.
So in our final version, we probably will refer to the fact that the applicant representative came to our first meeting in May, but then did not come to the follow-up meeting. The Council District 8 Planning Deputy Terry Osborne, who is present, is planning to set up a personal meeting with him. So, and hopefully she will be able to bring up some of our issues with him. We had hoped to ask some questions, further questions to clarify the project, and then to make suggestions to see how amenable they would be to making changes that would make the project more acceptable or less of an impact on the nearby residential. Terry, I should also mention that there was actually a community meeting on June the 16th at one of the residents' homes on Menlo Avenue. And a number of the nearby residents did come to that. Terry Osborne and Laura Garcia, the field deputy for that area, for Councilmember Harris Dawson, were both present, and Terry Osborne she was very helpful in laying out the issues. The issue is that if the applicant finishes submitting all the required documentation, it is going to go to the City Planning Commission. So, we will want to focus on the areas that we can influence, and Terry can re-stress how 4 of the conditions or waivers that the applicant is asking for, she feels from her experience, and because she has in the past worked in the Department of City Planning as a planner, that they will be granted because of the state laws that have been changed to encourage more housing to be built. So it doesn't really help our case to just say we're opposed to it. We just need to point out and comment on the areas where we can have some influence and can make our case before the City Planning Commission. And I don't know, Terry, did you want to kind of go over those issues again? I mean, we would like to say we don't want it at all because of the height and the number of units and the fact that it's right next to the freeway, but
Right. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you, Rosalie, and good evening, everyone. I am Terry Osborne, the planning deputy for Council President Marquise Harris Dawson of the 8th District. When this case was filed, I did reach out to the neighborhood council, just to really much bring awareness to what this project entails. And it's really a project that's coming in and is asking for, the city already has in place development standards as these type of developments are being built in the city. And just to paint like a bigger picture, this particular project is coming in and is asking for 12 waivers or like 12 development standards to be waived. At the very highest level, the governor has declared a housing crisis, and there's what's called the Housing Crisis Act. And what that entails is at the highest level, well, not the highest level, but at the state level, the state of California, they're passing a lot of legislation that will require local jurisdictions to waive off certain development standards. And some of those standards that are being passed at the state law that developers can seek a waiver for would be a waiver for parking. If the development is within a half a mile of a major transit stop, they can ask for an increase in the number of units that they would like to build. They can ask for an increase in height, and they can ask for a floor area ratio increase, which determines like how big the building can be. Outside of those 4 waivers, all of the remaining 8 waivers will be at the discretion of the decision maker. And for this particular project, the decision maker will be the City Planning Commission. This is a very high level of discretion. And with that being said, this community will have an opportunity 2 times to weigh in on it. Right now, the case is on hold for the, I guess the planner and the developer, are working out whatever missing documents that they need to take the case off hold and move it forward. When the case comes off hold, the city planner will do a staff level public hearing where the planning department will present the project, and then they will basically open it up for the public to comment and weigh in on it. Once the public comments on that, the planner will then take all of the comments, synthesize everything, prepare a staff report that they will send over with recommendations to the decision maker. In this case, it will be a commission of 6 city planning commissioners, and they all have certain findings that they have to make. And so the planner is going to synthesize all the comments. They're going to prepare the findings and send it over with recommendations. And then at that point, the commission will hold another hearing. And this is where the community will have another opportunity to come down to City Hall and get their comment on the record. So with this type of case that's coming in with this many development waivers, I did wanted to reach out to this community, to let the community know that the commission does have the discretion to grant these waivers. They could modify them, they could deny them, but they do like to hear from the community. And so that's pretty much why I'm here, is just to bring awareness of what this project is about. And also, I'm taking notes of all the comments that we received tonight so that I can then synthesize the comments when I do go to call a meeting with the developer.
Okay, Arby, you have your hand raised, and then we'll go back to Lou.
Well, you can go to first after Arby because I spoke already, but I can go after him, okay?
Okay,
Okay, there's a lot of concerns. They say there is a housing shortage and but this type of property, what is being proposed is like, I would like to know, would they like to live next door to some kind of huge property overlooking your backyard and people, and also the impact with the wall and everything is going to be very narrow because they're working on the 105 now in that area, and it's hardly going to be no space. I feel like people's going to be just cramped in that corner over there. I wouldn't want to live over there next to the freeway noise because I live right next to the freeway and I don't live right next to it, but I can hear the noise. I can tell you when it's early morning, when it's afternoon, and when it's night. And you hear the traffic, but being right next to it the way it is, I don't know, and it's going to impact. And the thing with the parking situation, I don't think the governor really took full account as the people living in the community. He just looking at a fix-all thing to give waivers to everybody, and that's not going to be the answer to the solution. What they should do is focus on as to look at the communities, the planning commissioner. They need to look at the areas, what they have already, and where can they build where it's decent, where people have space. Because when you cram in people together like this, it's going to cause issue. We have a parking issue right now. Not everybody's going to take public transportation because it's not really that safe. So I don't think this waiver, it's just going to just create more issues for all the communities. Issues. They're not here. They're sitting up at downtown. The governor haven't been around to visit every city or anything. He's just looking at the paper and the people that's coming to him and making their voice, but he's not listening to the people in the community who lives in the community. They're not listening. He's just looking at the numbers and not really looking at the parking. He's not really looking at the impact of the traffic, of the parking. It's no parking. Parking is horrible right now. There are people living, multifamilies. It's not a housing crisis, it's an affordability issue also. So I don't think this fix all waiving all this because the contractor's just gonna go havoc. That's all I have to say right now. Thank you.
Okay, Craig.
Um, yes, Terry, I had a question about the major concern, the second bullet point. It's mentioning the 1,000-foot freeway adjacent advisory notice, ZI 2427. What exactly does that mean, and does that apply to this project?
Yeah, so that's a zoning information file. And that's pretty much tagged for all properties that are adjacent to freeways. I gotta pull it up. I'm not that well versed on it, but it's basically an advisory notice that projects that are within a certain proximity to a freeway due to certain sensitivities that the fine particular matter causes from the exhaust of the cars, like the developers have to like develop the building in a certain type of way. Like they can't have balconies that face open out onto the freeway. So it's like an advisory notice advising of certain sensitivities when a project is within 1,000 feet of a freeway. And if I'm understanding that letter right, is that you want to have that zoning file updated, Rosalie?
Yes, we were actually the neighborhood council that got that freeway advisory notice instituted, and it was along 2018. It's a long time ago. It's very weak. And that was because we had, actually it was the same developer wanted to build a project further south in the neighborhood council that was going to be next to two freeways and under an over ramp where if any car or bus fell off the over ramp, it would fall right onto one of the homes. But I have it, I could screen share it. It's just very weak in what it says. I mean, it does require uh, the windows to be a certain way and also yeah, I'll just read it out. It was effective September 17th, 2018. It applies citywide within 1,000 feet of freeways. And purpose, air pollution studies indicate a strong link between the chronic exposure of populations to vehicle exhaust and particulate matter from roads and freeways and elevated risk of adverse health impacts, particularly in sensitive populations such as young children and older adults. Areas located within 500 feet of a freeway are known to experience the greatest concentrations of fine and ultrafine particulate matter, a pollutant implicated in asthma and other health conditions. In 2003, the California legislature enacted SB 352, which precludes the siting of public schools within 500 feet of a freeway, unless it can be shown that any significant health risks can be mitigated. Freeways are a major stationary source of air pollution, and their impact on the air we breathe and public health in cities continues to be a subject of public health research. Scientific literature previously focused on the impacts to immediately surrounding communities within 500 feet of freeways. However, recent studies have established strong links to negative health outcomes affecting sensitive populations at a distance of 1,000 feet from freeways, and in some instances up to 1 mile. Therefore, the Department of City Planning is using the 1,000-foot boundary as the distancing threshold for conservative consideration of risk to the negative effects of air pollution caused by freeway proximity. So therefore, all applicants filing a discretionary application with the Department of City Planning for a new and/or expanded project located within 1,000 feet of a freeway shall be advised of the following information and expectations. So this is very weak because it's really just advisory, but so project features and design alternatives to consider. When integrated into the project design and program concept, the following measures may reduce air pollution exposure and associated health risks, and therefore should be taken into account when your project is being configured or when a specific site is being considered for development. 1, avoid locating the following sensitive uses within the project, which are schools, daycare facilities, and senior care centers. 2, locate occupied open space areas such as play areas, courtyards, patios, balconies, etc., as far from the freeway sources as possible when the size of the site permits. 3, prioritize the location of non-habitable uses such as parking structures and building areas not calculated in the floor area nearest the freeway. 4, screen the project site with substantial vegetation and/or a wall barrier. Project requirements: all projects seeking discretionary approval for which findings must be made regarding conformance to the general plan are expected to adhere to the citywide design guidelines, including those that address freeway proximity. And they list various ones, but they don't really. Yeah, they don't really give details in this. They're referring to others. The housing element, the air quality element, the plan for a healthy LA. But I know in the application, there is something about the windows. I think there was something about air filtration system. As I recall, the city does require that the windows, at least those facing the freeway, be at least double paned, if not maybe triple paned, to cut out the noise, and that there be a certain level of air infiltration system, a certain MERV rating. But I don't think, the project was presented to us with 7 trees, no discussion of any substantial landscaping at all, or any landscaping along the freeway sound wall, raising the sound wall, or any other mitigations. Now, we thought there weren't any balconies, but when you look at the drawing or the rendering, the dark gray and white, it seems to show that there are some balconies, but they're inset kind of between. So some of the rooms, some of the apartments would have a balcony, but that's what we wanted to ask. Okay, Michael, let's see. One of our residents. Oops. Okay, Michael, go ahead. You had a question or comment? Looks like you should be able to speak. Are you able to? You're unmuted, Michael. I don't know if there's something with your computer sound. Okay, we'll come back to Michael and Lou. Go ahead.
Miss Osborne? Miss Osborne, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Is this an ED1 project?
No, this is not. This is a city planning commission level. This is a conditional use 3 density bonus case.
Okay. Well, I have a request for you to take back to the council member, please.
Okay.
I request that the councilman weigh in or go on record that stakeholders are complaining that they are being shown a total lack of respect by this developer by not appearing to answer any questions or to listen to or to have input with stakeholders. Perhaps there could be a meeting of the mind somewhere. But for him not to show up and to do the things that he's doing, even with the council office, not supplying all of the paperwork that he needs to submit. All of that is disrespect, And I am requesting that you let the council member know that a stakeholder is requesting that of him.
Okay, I'll definitely put that request in. I can't make no guarantees, but I'll put it in.
Well, I thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Tanya Wary. If you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I was just wondering, I was just listening in, and they said that when they take this to is it not the council, but the
City Planning Commission.
city planning committee. I would just like for them to not just look at it on a paper, but to actually come out to the site and actually see the area that it's going to be built in. I think you'll get a better understanding of what we are complaining about. It is such a small space. It is such an extremely small space to want to put something so massive there. So that's my question. Do they actually come out to see, or are they just looking at this on paper?
I wasn't in that part of planning. I was only there for like 2.5 years, and I think I only had like 1 or 2 cases that went before them. I can say though that with these applications, the developer, they have to take pictures of the surrounding neighborhood and they submit that with the application. So I do know that in that application, it should have pictures, that the commission will definitely look at the surrounding of the neighborhood. And then I also just want to call to this group that there's also findings that the commission has to make, and I don't have the application with me, Rosalie. I don't know if you have it, but in that application packet that the planning department sent over, in there is questions that go before the commission. And I definitely urge this community to definitely review the questions. And as you respond, be as technical as possible. So like maybe one of the questions is the project will enhance the built environment in the surrounding neighborhood, or it will perform a function or provide a service that is essential or beneficial to the community, city, or region. So as you look at this particular project and you see that one particular question that's going to go before the commission has to consider that if they grant this waiver, will this development with the waiver enhance the environment? And if this community says no, then I would say for every waiver that you are urging this commission to not approve, like respond and be very technical. That's the best thing that I could urge this neighborhood to do. So as you prepare your response, like with the encroachment plan, you could respond and say the encroachment plan does not enhance the built environment. Like, because now you're being technical and you're addressing the questions that the commission has to answer. And so as we think about the surrounding community, they will see the pictures. And so as you respond, like, is this building going to enhance the surrounding character of the community? So they'll see the pictures, but as you respond, you also want to kind of enhance on that particular statement that'll be before them. And again, the developer, they should have provided the findings in the application packet that was sent over.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say also that I agree with everything that that was put on for the letter to be sent to, I believe, the city planning. We as a community over here, we do not want this building. I'm not, am I understanding it right that they can, the city planning, they can just, I mean, because we're all, a lot of the community thinks that this is just going to be done and that's it. But from what I heard today is it could be a possibility that they could not approve some of the things that this developer wants to do, as far as not having bicycle parking, the fact that it's just way too many units, it's way too high, and there's just going to be chaos. It's going to be no parking. So, I mean, I don't know if that's an understanding that I'm kind of like, I think a lot of people really want to understand in the community is that can the city planning, is this, it's kind of like, oh yeah, this is going to go through, period. We're just trying to, make it less effect, less, the effect, less an effect on the community because some of the things that they're asking for exemption for will not be approved. I think that's what everybody's asking is, they really want to understand, could it be a possibility for the planning to just, not approve or cancel some of the waivers that they're requesting that already have been approved?
Yeah, so the 8 waivers that they're requesting is at the full discretion of the commission. They could approve it with and modify that condition, or they could deny it. One thing that I could say that does not happen at a lot of these commission meetings is a lot of the community don't really show up. So if you could show up, if you could submit comment letters so that they see this, and now they're hearing from the community. But if the community doesn't say anything about it, then what's going to stop them from saying approve? But with those 8 waivers is at the sole discretion of the commission. The findings is what the commission is going to use to either grant it, deny it, or approve it with revisions or modifications.
And
But
just to follow up, so yes, Tanya, it seems that the planning commission, their hands are kind of tied because of state law on the first 4 waivers that are being requested, but on the other 8, if a lot of them were denied, then there's the hope that it would make the project not feasible for the developer to follow through. Or um, if they're granted but with modifications, and then the developer has to make those modifications and pay more fees, they may decide that they're just not going to proceed with it. So that's the hope. Yes, and I found the findings package. Let me just read out briefly. So they include, does it promote a safe, comfortable, and accessible pedestrian experience for all?
So say for example, that one question right there, like if that's a finding that goes before the commission, they should have typed up their answer. But then,
They did, yeah.
okay, so then you can also type up your response to that same question. And then and then that's how you kind of justify to the commission, like why they shouldn't grant the waiver. Because they're responding saying to the commission why they should grant the waiver. But either way, those questions are going to be the questions that is going to be before the commission for them to make their decision with those waivers. And
Yeah.
and that's
Sorry.
really the importance of why I wanted to come here tonight, was just to kind of lay out the roadmap of like what this is going to look for. I'm not necessarily saying you could stop the project, but what I am saying is that you can definitely, weigh in, let the commission hear your voice, and you can have the opportunity to modify that project to where now it fits the character of the community, and you all are advocating for a better quality project for the future tenants that would occupy that building should the developer decide to move forward with building it with whatever the commission approves.
So, well, for example, under that finding, promote a safe, comfortable, and accessible pedestrian experience for all, their first statement is a pair of courtyards will be available to residents on the second floor, allowing the building to break up its mostly rectangular design. Well, that has nothing to do with pedestrians. Plus, that's actually in contradiction to what he told us at the first meeting. I thought the courtyard was, well, I don't know. There's also, I guess he's talking about a rooftop garden. So see, that's what's very confusing.
And then I also do want to, call to this group that the case is on hold. I did see a full agenda with other items. So if you guys definitely want to, put this on the next agenda or continue the discussion, just, please invite me out. I don't want to be the reason we hold up the whole meeting and not get to the other items. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, the other items are very brief. They're just brief,
okay.
brief reports. No,
Okay.
This discussion is intended to be the key. So I'll just run over some of the other.
I just want to say one
findings.
last thing. I'm sorry. I am in agreement of him being so disrespectful not to attend this meeting. I think that so many questions could have been answered. If he was here, he could address so many questions and concerns that we have for the community. It's just unbelievable that he would not, show up, especially when he said he would be here. Just want to note that.
Yes, because one of the issues we wanted to clarify is in the previous meeting, and Tanya heard him say that the reason why the limited parking would work is because most of the future residents would be younger people who would be riding bicycles. However, then Terry Osborne clarified for us and pointed out that in the waivers, he's asking to have 0 spaces for resident bicycles and 0 spaces for guest bicycles. So there's a big contradiction there, and that was something we wanted to clarify. Okay, so some of the other findings relate to vehicular access so that it does not degrade the pedestrian experience. Design the project to actively engage with the street and the public space and maintain human scale. Organize and shape the project to recognize and respect the surrounding context. Well, that one is definitely does not do that. Express a clear and coherent architectural idea. Provide amenities that support community building and provide an inviting, comfortable user experience. I mean, there's no community room in this building for all those people. I'm not even sure if he mentioned if there would be what the laundry facilities are going to be like. Carefully arrange the design elements and uses to protect site users. Protect the site's unique natural resources. Well, it doesn't have any. Configure the site layout, building massing, and orientation to lower energy demand and increase the comfort. Enhance green features to capture stormwater and promote habitat. So there aren't that many really that, but we can comment on as many as possible. So Lou, did you have another
Yes,
comment?
yes, I do. How many findings are there? And will you email them to the committee so we could see them? And also screen share at our next meeting. There's too much that we don't know. And his lack of appearance here, this matter needs to be continued. We are not ready to weigh in on this on a letter with a recommendation to the board as I see it.
Oh yeah, definitely not tonight. So,
So
okay, the
findings,
findings are, there's not that many, but
how many are there?
it looks like there's 8, no, there's 10 subject areas. And then under each of those, they might have like 4 to 6 points. So I'll scan this in and email it to us so that we can, consider
And
and we'll be working on redrafting the letter. So, okay.
sorry.
So Tanya, did you have any last comment?
I did. Living 2025, everybody has an animal. Everybody has an animal, and what type of animal park, something for the animals to be able to walk, play, and of course, relieve themselves. I mean, that's another big concern. You have 111 units. I mean, I can only imagine how many of these tenants are going to have animals. So, I mean, they're going to have to walk their dogs around the corner, I'm sure, because there's no park, there's no park close enough to, when a dog needs to go out or whatever, to play, stretch his legs, relieve himself. So, I mean, we're going to have to walk way past 120 of just to do that. I mean, just wait. It's just, that's just a big concern as well.
Right. So Terry did suggest that we could consider, the current proposal is that you enter from Vermont and a vehicle would drive through that space, which would be the guest parking space with 10 parking spaces on each side of that driveway for the guests. And and then you go into the parking structure, but she suggested we could consider asking that that space be totally a green space. But then the developer's gonna say, well, then in order to have guest parking, that takes away from the parking on, you know, on that first ground floor parking area, so it's kind of a conundrum there,
And
but,
then we would reply, maybe that's why you shouldn't build that.
right, have such a big building so that,
Yes.
That's why he needs to be here so he can hear what we have to say and perhaps he can explain it.
Janisha, did you have a
Yes, I
comment?
just wanted to say that I appreciate the input and the direction and understanding how to respond to these, I guess, findings technically, so that we're speaking the same language. But I'm also concerned about, you know, the move it seems to build these kinds of residences in this area, the whole area, because the other one that's proposed right here for 120th and Hoover. And I just don't understand how it works. Do the developers be something or the planning committee? Like, do they not see like the, that there's several projects of this magnitude in this small area that would necessarily change it from a residential area to a more urban housing, like downtown looking, industrial looking kind of housing area. I mean, it's already down the Broadway corridor and it seems like it's encroaching. So I don't know if there's any, measure or council or report or anything or any other space that we can express concerns about. Just it seems like a trend or a move to really change everything. I mean, I know that California talk about, the unhoused or what have you. No community wants to be the one that has to take that hit. At the same time, it seems like there should be some kind of balance. And as is, it doesn't seem like we are getting that kind of a fair look or fair consideration, particularly in this area.
And again, it's, most of that is coming from the laws that were passed at the state level that take away the ability of individual cities from fully creating their own planning and land use guidelines as we had in the past, so. And the neighborhood council did write one comment letter about the ED1 projects, because beside the one on 120th, I think we have about 4 or 5 others. So, yeah, it's a big issue. Michael Hughes, did you ever manage, you're unmuted. Were you able to make your comment or ask your question? And then, Terry, just before we move on since I know you're a bicycle rider and live in a similar building in the downtown area, so what did you think of our suggestion about the bicycle parking? Because I know for some other apartment projects in the past, they've shown us the drawing of the way the vehicles would park and the bicycles, and they actually take up what could be vehicle parking spaces for the bicycles. But can't they be, have racks on the walls for a lot of them at least that would, better utilize the walls of the parking garage?
Right. So some of the older buildings, they have like bike parking outside, but it's like covered. And then a lot of the newer buildings that are coming online actually have like a room which is just dedicated to nothing but like bike parking, which is kind of on the ground level of like the parking structure. So people could kind of just come in, enter the same way a car would, and then they would have a space to park and lock their bike. And again, I just want to call to this meeting again. They want a waiver of like 0 bike parking, and just be mindful that they're literally in walking distance to a light rail. And a lot of people that use public transit they also have bikes as another mode of transportation when they get off of the train. And so this developer wants to waive all the bike parking requirements. So yeah, they do have a ground floor parking that's it's on the ground floor and it's covered. So yeah, if you wanted to ask the developer, if you're going to push back on the bike parking, you definitely can ask if they could provide some, in the covered parking where the cars would park.
Okay, if there's nothing else,
I'm sorry,
thank
just
you.
one last question. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to
Yeah,
wait.
go ahead, Tanya.
I'm just sitting here thinking, it's such a massive unit. You know how you have the management on site? And nothing about safety has been addressed about this building. So my question is, are they going to have like on-site security, or, like some type of management that's on site that keeps, you know, the building, safe and intact and so forth?
I don't believe so, but that's something we can add.
Yeah, and
On-site management, yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to just kind of follow up, or close out with after you guys have the next hearing and you guys go over all of this, definitely invite, and you guys have, whenever this starts to pick up and you guys are now ready, like you've discussed the findings, and now you all are definitely ready to bring the developer to the table. Definitely let me know what meeting that would be, so that I could also reach out to the developer, have a meeting with him, and then also suggest that he shows up to the neighborhood council meeting that you all would want him at, to be ready to answer. Well, not him, he, she, or them, to show up so that they could be ready to answer questions before city planning holds their staff level public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Lou, one last comment?
Yes, I have a request to make sure that the stakeholders are emailed a copy of the findings as well, so that they know will be before the planning commission. And thank you, Ms. Osborne, for saying that you will speak to that developer about our feelings about him not showing up here when we have all of these concerns. And some of them could have been taken care of tonight if he had been here to answer the questions. This is it's prolonging this and making it unnecessary because of his non-appearance. I'm not going to beat that dead horse anymore. All I'm going to say is just please see that the stakeholders are sent a copy of the findings as well, so that they will know what they can speak to, and maybe they can formulate their thoughts so that when they appear or write their answers, they are on topic and are able to sort of speak the language, even if they don't know how to. But that is my request. Thank you.
You're welcome. And also thank you as well. I don't have the findings, but Rosalie, if you don't mind sharing the findings, I would greatly appreciate it. And just so you all know, whenever a planning case gets filed, I'm not in the planning department no more, but the typical protocol is that they do send a copy of the application materials to your neighborhood council, in which Rosalie has. So when you get the time, Rosalie, if I could just ask you a big favor to share the findings.
Oh, yeah, I'll scan it all in. I'm surprised that you were not mailed a copy either.
You know, it's okay. Like I could get a copy of it. I think what was most important for me was that you all were made aware of like what this project really entails. That I think for me that was more important. And yeah, and I'm just here to help you all out.
Hey, thank you again. And Michael Hughes, are you able? You still have your hand up. I don't know if you're unmuted. Otherwise, we'll try to reach out to you by email. Okay. Moving on. To item number 5, which is the brief reports on other planning and land use issues, of which we have many. So on the Prologis warehouse at the northeast corner of Vermont Avenue and Redondo Beach Boulevard, on June the 18th, the letter of determination was emailed out and physically mailed out to many of us. If anyone wants a physical copy, we have a spare and could make other copies. So that just formalized the City Planning Commission's approval of that project. So we've recently, just for the stakeholders concerned with the 11516 South Vermont Avenue apartments, we've just recently gone through that whole City Planning Commission hearing experience. And no, the City Planning Commission do not actually go out to the site as far as we can tell, because if they did, they would come up with rather different conclusions. Now, the city planners who finalized the city planning, the Department of City Planning's report, they said they did actually physically visit the site. So when we get closer to that, we'll have to find out who the actual assigned planner is and work to make sure they visit. So in the letter of determination, it gave the date for any appeals, and there will be an appeal which has been prepared on the EIR and the CEQA elements. Lou, did you want to say anything?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Is there any reason why you do not put the link for that determination on the website of our neighborhood council, so that when people log into the neighborhood council, they don't have to bother you or ask you to take the time to send it to them or find it or whatever. But if you have that link there with the information that they can read it for themselves, I think that would be effective. Do you think as well?
Well, we do have on the planning committee's page, I believe there's something about Prologis that hasn't been updated. So I can ask our web guy to add the link to that letter.
On the neighborhood council website.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the update on the oil well issues. There's been continuing unexplained water near the curb. And I did have a conversation with Edgar Macedo, the planner who's assigned to oil issues for the city of Los Angeles. And I'm not sure if it was through him or through Council District 15's office, or in any case, someone from the Department of Sanitation came out to study the issue, and the homeowner who's most impacted has his name and phone number, so we have to follow up. It turns out that actually now some water is appearing in front of a neighbor's house as well. And the reason why I believe sanitation came out is because there's a couple times there's been an oily sheen on the water, so we feel like it's somehow being pushed up due to the pressure of the drilling using fracking with a, water pressure. But we still haven't been able to prove that. On the reopening of the Arco gas station, actually, it still hasn't reopened. Sometimes you see trucks inside the fencing, so something's going on. But actually, this morning, the the owner, Nancy Koskos, called me because they finally got LADWP to sign off and start the power on site, but there were some other issues that needed to be resolved, and one of them involved the car wash, and there's something about the bathrooms for the gas station are on the outside of the car wash, or they're outside on the exterior of one of the buildings, and they've been that way since the 1980s, but building and safety has raised concerns about that. And she said that every time they come out to check on things and to make sure things have been done by permit or according to, the permit standards, then they find something else that has to be corrected. So we're going to see if we can contact someone higher up in building and safety to help resolve this, because all of this is up, holding back the final opening, and they're very close. On the ED projects, so 700 West 120th Street, that's a 50-unit apartment building with no parking. So in comparison, the 11516 apartments offer generous on-site parking. All this is to do with the state laws. I understand that the 700 West 120th Street project is held up, and there's going to be a hearing before it's Superior Court, I guess, on the issue. So I don't know if they'll be successful in blocking it or modifying it, but that neighborhood nearby that would be really impacted, they have a organized block club with a nonprofit status, and they've turned to an attorney to try to help with that issue. The 1134 East 120th Street, we haven't heard any more about it. They did complete the demolition. The 11840 South Central Avenue, they cleared the land, but nothing more has happened. The solar impact projects, I still haven't been able to follow up with them. You know, when we met for our last meeting, we're looking on Zemus, we found that they had withdrawn their application. And actually the condition of the lot makes you think that's the case because they're, you know, the cloth material around the fencing is just all torn up and it's just looking very unsightly. They've got all the materials for that project stored at 248 West Imperial Highway, encased in heavy white plastic. But you know, if they don't start using it, someone's gonna break in and take that stuff away. If the Harbor Gateway Community Plan update, we're expecting it to go before the Plum Committee sometime this summer, but we haven't heard anything. G, the health and environmental justice element, the preliminary draft came out. Did everyone take a look at that? Had a lot of language in it that refers to projects such as the Prologis warehouse that are surrounded by sensitive uses, as does the Harbor Gateway Community Plan update. So those are going to be referred to in the appeal of the letter of determination for the Prologis warehouse. Other planning and land use issues. I did LADWP had a meeting about their long-range energy plans for converting to green energy and away from using any kind of fossil fuels or natural gas to supply our energy. And I think they're still taking comments on that plan. The original goal was to achieve it by 2035. There are a lot of people on the Zoom meeting. And so while many people are supportive of that goal, in order to reach the goal by 2035, rather than maybe waiting till 2040, is that the city has to put out more money sooner, and therefore there's a concern that the ratepayers for the electricity will need to have their bills raised at a higher rate than if you waited a bit longer. So we should try to get the comment link so more people can view the presentation and weigh in. So anyone else have any other issues that are going on that we should know about? Okay. Oh, so we need to decide on the next meeting. The issue is the next meeting's going to be for those who've been reappointed to the Planning and Land Use Committee. But just assuming that a lot of the same people are on, I actually cannot make the first Tuesday in August. So I was thinking since July has an extra Tuesday, maybe we could meet the last Tuesday of July. Does that work for everyone?
I think that would work for me, and I also have some conflicts in August, so that so far seems better.
Okay, and then I know Janisha is considering rejoining the committee, so that would be Tuesday, July the 29th at 6:30 p.m. But she was wondering if the meetings could be moved to Mondays.
Maybe we can look at that when we get the whole new board or the new committee on.
Yeah. But Janisha, can you make the Tuesday, July 29th meeting?
At 6:30.
Yeah,
I could dial in, but it's like it's better for me if we start at 5:30 or 7:30, honestly. But I can try.
seven. Seven work.
Yes, that's better.
Is 7 okay with other people? More or less? Okay, maybe we can,
That's
Seven with
fine
me.
for me, but
okay,
I'm okay with 7.
okay. So we'll aim for Tuesday, July 29th at 7 for the next meeting. And we'll have a new draft of our comment letter, which we may or may not finalize at that meeting. We'll have a better idea of the time frame. Okay, and then people who want to be reappointed to the Planning and Land Use Committee should email us at info@harborgatewaynorth.org. We're creating a list because at our board meeting next Tuesday, the new board will be voting on the committees again. Okay, thank you everyone for attending.
Good night.